Ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between, my name is 𝓶𝓮𝓷𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓭. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Before starting this festive video, let's open the candle because I want to light up this candle, new one that was presented to me yesterday in a memory of all the brain cells that died reading the next books. It's smelling really good and it's already given me more happiness and satisfaction than these books. Since I'm a member of Ukrainian Orthodox Church, I'm celebrating Christmas by Julian calendar. So, welcome to the Vlogmas. Let's start. I will basically be your Grinch, as that will steal a bit of a Christmas wintry mood, because I will talk about worst books I read in 2021, and since in 2021 I have done this one graphic novel per day challenge, I will talk about graphic novels. I decided this kind of videos will be only about graphic novels in this Vlogmas. Without further ado, let's start with the slightest ones and let's come to the hardcore stuff in the end. In the end, we will cover graphic novels that was featuring rape in as entertainment or as laughable aspect in them. So you may skip the end if it's triggering for you, or if you want to know which books doing it, you're welcome to watch this video until the end. Full list of books I will mention is in the description in time codes, so if you want to skip something, feel free to do so, because in order to talk about something I don't like, I need to also cover what was actually happening in the graphic novels and why I did not like something and why something was wrong to put in there. So Sorry, Not Sorry. Wild Children by Aleš and really Rossmo, and it was about school shootings that happened to be a fake school shooting, basically, to prove some theoretical points for the adults from children. So it was organized by students, and it was meant to be thought-provoking event, but it turned out at the end very differently, and it was taken seriously by the authorities, as it should be. And I didn't find dialogue clever at all. I found it very pretentious, and I understood the message that was put there, but it was too heavy-handed, a bit like self-indulgence in your own intelligence sort of message. For me, I read it as this, and what I liked in this book was how the author played with the format of graphic novels. So basically at some point the characters understood that they're in a graphic novel, and the author was also playing with the art form of the page boxes and with the bubbles, and it was this kind of play around the format the book is written at. That aspect I always appreciate in graphic novels. Speaking about something very pretentious, oh my gosh, all the previous things should be disregarded in comparison with In Real Life by Cory Doctorow and Wang. My god. That was awful. And it's a very controversial opinion of mine, because I know this graphic novel is very, very popular, especially among young adults, because this graphic novel is targeted to young adults. But it put me away from it by the preface, by the introduction done by Cory Doctorow himself. For me, it's always a bit tricky when the author himself or herself themselves does this introduction part, because usually it ends up really good or really bad. And in this case, Cory Doctorow ruined the whole book for me by this introduction, because, okay, let's talk first about what the book is. The book is a story of a girl who is starting this online game, and meet there a guy from China who is doing this game not because he enjoys it, but he also getting paid by collecting some goods in this game and reselling them to other people, basically. And it's this graphic novel discusses this kind of things that happens in online games. They're called gold farmers, and how is it relates to the real life, how it's showing economical disadvantages some people are put into, and because of that they are working in really hard conditions as gold farmers, while being sometimes underaged, sometimes from less privileged background, and how these girls who started playing this game understand it and trying to help these people. And the tricky part starts there, but we will get into this. But let's first talk about a very long and preachy introduction given to us by Cory Doctorow about economy, inequity, and what this graphic novel is about. And I think it would be better to leave this introduction behind and let the readers themselves think what this graphic novel will teach them or what they will know from this graphic novel. But Cory Doctorow doesn't give you this chance. He is directly saying what you need to get from this book, how you need to read it, what you don't know and what you will know. And I graduated from Faculty of International Economic Relationships, and no professor, high acclaimed scholars, no businessman teaching some classes in our university in my life. And I was studying in 2 universities in 2 countries. Even in first year, never spoke to me in this condescending tone, spoke down to me like this as Cory Doctorow in this introduction. And I think it was a complete miss.
I misunderstood the assignment. I misunderstood the assignment.
I was put off from the story itself by the introduction, and it rarely happens because I love introductions. I love also, long, good essays in the end of the graphic novel. But in this case, I would prefer to not have this introduction at all because it really put you off from reading something after this. Honestly, I wanted to close the book and never open it again after this. Maybe I should have done it, but I didn't, and now that's the review of the story itself. So the story basically starts with a very strange situation. Maybe it's strange for me, maybe it's not strange for the US. How this main character, this girl, getting into this game, getting to play this multiplayer online game. So in her school, there is a visitor who is given time to speak in front of the class, introducing girls to the online gaming and saying like, oh, you are not playing as girl characters when you're playing online games. Most of you don't, and everyone agrees like, yeah, we're playing as boys or as man characters. So this woman want to change it. And then the interesting part starting. She's basically girl boss, gatekeep gaslighting them into paying for this game. I think it's not much of money, but this girl, she doesn't have this money. She's borrowing it from her parents. So basically this woman is coming to the school to sell her game, and let's not say now that she's trying to encourage these girls, power them through playing this online game. That's just another sale strategy for this type of person. It's just another marketing strategy to sell to young people. I don't get how it should be feminist, or how I should be so proud of this woman who is going to schools, I don't know, middle schools and high schools, to recruit basically children as her buyers. Not her buyers, it's not even her game, it's just she has a kind of league here that's accepting girls only. The parents of this girl is very also like, they don't understand it completely, and they're very aware of exposed in the internet and talking to strangers, some strange perverted man maybe, and they are prohibiting her from talking to men in this game, and she's promising them to talk only to women because she will be participating in this kind of women league or something. But when she actually starts playing the game, no one is taking care of her. Like, there's no this kind of leader who will take care of this recruited underage players who was promised encouragement and empowerment through this game just through playing woman characters. And by the way, also the girl in real life is kind of plus size. The character in the game is really skinny, and looks differently from her. So I'm not sure how it's playing into this whole discussion of just be yourself, play women in these games, and be empowered by playing same type of appearance as you are in real life and not pretend to be anyone else. But then another questionable moment is how her parents are promised to have one level of I would say security in the game, right, for her to not be exposed to some strangers, and she ruining this whole promise. She is speaking to men on several occasions, and she actually started receiving money from men, and it does look so suspicious to her parents, and her parents actually restrict her for playing the game. But I don't think it was done realistically enough. Her parents didn't check her account, her parents didn't check her laptop, her parents didn't check on her too much. They just was like shocked, and we were shown how they were shocked, but they never investigated how it happened. Maybe she is, I don't know, selling her news at 14 years old. Who knows? But they just was shocked, and they screamed at her, and they prohibited internet for her. That's all. That's all what they have done. And for me, it was such a strange reaction. Like, if I would ever see how my daughter, like underage daughter, started playing some sort of online game, and then she started receiving amounts of money on her PayPal from unknown men, it would be very strange for me, and I would definitely try to investigate it more. Not to, control her and be this tyrant mother, but because in certain age you think you understand what's going on, but sometimes you don't, and it's really easy to trick young people. There is this whole plot line of these gold farmers who are working in China as gold farmers in this game. So they are recruited under very poor working conditions, and they're working really long shift. What I really didn't like is how this girl, it was basically made into white savior trope, and she was the one who saved this whole country basically of China. This one white American girl, very privileged, who is just living her little life, who just in high school maybe, and she was smart enough to advise something to these adults who are playing this game as gold farmers, and help them with their health and help them with their working conditions. Like, that's such a wrong idea to perpetuate into young people's mind who will read this graphic novel, that you can just, with your brilliant advice, you can just save someone's career, save someone's life. The whole group of people living in a whole different country in another side of the world, who are older than her, who are their own people, and you don't even know their language, their culture, their economy. You don't know basically anything about their world and their life, but you feel entitled enough from your place of privilege to think you're smarter than them, and you can give advices, and you can solve their problems. And in this graphic novel, actually, that's so unrealistic how it was made, and I was so angry when I was reading it, because in real life it wouldn't make any sense, and this will never happen. That one teenage girl will just save some other people in other country for giving some stupid advices. Like, she really thought that no one else heard about rights of working people, or there's people who are working in this agency that recruits gamers. They never heard of speaking with their boss about their paid vacation. I don't know. It's like she thought she invented it, and it was ridiculously strange to read, but more strange and more dangerous that younger people are reading it and thinking they are so great, they can be the saviors of the world, while just their actual task is to live their life normally, to do their homework, and to be good sons and daughters and friends, and figure out their life, not advise people from another continent how to live theirs. And it was so strange that it was actually received so well in American society, this idea of a young privileged girl who is throwing tantrums at her parents because she doesn't want to eat ice cream because people are suffering somewhere. Like, duh. Who is crying in her bed and laying like suffering in her bed because her parents cut her off from the internet because she was trying to help these Chinese workers. What is that? It was so funny for me. Like, she basically doesn't know anything in this life and she's already trying to save someone. Another thing I wanted to say that Wang and her art style was great as always, but I really questioned her artistic choice of making all of these Chinese game characters looking the same, and I think it's such a dangerous idea to perpetuate. So the next one was a bit on more serious side, and that was Nathan Cowdry Crash Site, which was a story of great graphics. I enjoyed the graphics, but it was very nasty and disgusting tale of one, basically I think teenage or just turning 18 girl who is drug addicted, and she is making her able to speak dog to carry drugs for her from country to country in his stomach. Story unfolding like this, but to be honest, there was not much of a story. There were a lot of nudity, there was a lot of drugs, and there was a lot of weird things. And I think with this kind of artistic style he can make great things, but I don't know why he chose such a weird scenario. I think if there was someone else who would help him with the plot, and okay, weird, dark, humorous, maybe shockingly or gore scenarios if that's what he want to create, but again, scenarios that make sense, because this one didn't make sense at all, and it was just like I was waiting for it to finish, and it was not a good feeling. Now we are entering more sexually explicit content with this, and I will talk about 𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓸𝓸 by Milo Manara. I loved Milo Manara's style as well. I'm his big fan in terms of how he drawing women and in general how he drawing, but that was a kind of erotic tale which I was aware of when I was going there because of the cover and because of Milo Manara's nature. It was a story about two sisters and another girl who is trying to be webcam models, and one crazy ex-boyfriend of one of them tried to kill them. So they killed him and drowned him, basically get away with murder. It was spiced up with some webcamming poses and actions, but it wasn't actually making any sense. Again, I'm very sorry if Milo Manara was the author of this idea and the plot itself as well, because gosh, it was awful. Really, it was awful. I hope it was ghost written by someone, but if it his plot, I'm so disappointed. It was such nonsensical plot. Again, not very pleasurable read. Assholes by Bram, Algoed and Micah Stahl. And it was very strange read about two TV hosts, really famous ones, who are basically what the name suggests us, and the assholes, and they really behave like this to each other and to the personnel on the golf course they are playing golf at, and basically there was no plot, there was no point in telling the story. You can understand their character and the deepness of their assholeness by the first pages, and you just keep on reading it and you just don't understand why you're wasting your time like this, and that was the story of my life. I unfortunately read it until the end, and I would now say I would gladly DNF it, but I have my problems with DNFs, which I was talking about lately. Anything you can take from this book is these two TV hosts are assholes, and there are people like this in this world. And it's like, yeah, everyone knows it. Now what? And now let's come to 3 really awful parts of this whole list. It's graphic novels where there were sex offend or rape, and it was used in really awful context. First, let's mention something I wrapped up recently, Perdy series by Kickliy. It was a series about a cowboy, Wild West, a woman who loved to have sex and who loved to rob banks and kill people. But the problem with her was that she liked to have unconsensual sex with men, and there was a storyline of her raping one cowboy, and he was trying to revenge her, and that was it. And it was treated as a joke. His feelings was treated as a joke. His refusal to have intercourse with her was treated as a joke, and basically the whole situation we as readers were supposed to laugh at, and I didn't find there anything laughable. Next, there was Giselle and Beatrice by Benoît Feroumont. It was a story about forced sex change, kidnapping and rape performed by a woman to a man. This woman was forcibly changing gender of her boss to get revenge on him, and she was making him a home slave, like a maid, and a sex slave, and she was raping him in a woman's body for long time. And he was also turned not just into a woman, like a French woman, he was turned into Eastern European woman with a strong Eastern European accent, and it was a part of a joke, and it was a part of something we should laugh at. I didn't laugh, as you as you can see. It's nothing to check in this book, honestly, and I regret reading it, but not as much as the next one, Black River by George Simmons. And I actually restricted myself from repeating authors on my best books of 2021 and worst books of 2021 lists, because it would just not be fun to say, you know, I loved this 5 books of Algoed, or I hated this 5 books of George Simmons, and basically that will cut out place that can be taken by other authors and other books in this privilege to be named the worst or the best. So basically all the books I read this year by George Simmons, they were the worst, but for this list I have chosen the worst one of the worst. And that was Black River, because it was a story of apocalypses where women have only one reason to exist: to be raped graphically on a page, in different ways, and it was just something I couldn't accept, and it had no purpose to be there. It was not there for something, it was there just for, I don't know, some perverted readers to see these graphics and get off. I don't know, it was just so disgusting, and these characters didn't have any other reason to be. They didn't have any other personalities, they didn't have any other sense to be in the story, basically just to be raped. And this story ended really quickly after this deed was done, and the whole purpose of the story, I felt, was in telling this story of raping, I think, and killing, also brutally murdering, torturing, I think 7+ women. There was a group of women, and it was not an erotic story, also, I should admit. It was not drawn in erotic way. Is this kind of alternative, you know, graphic novels? That's what scares me in them, that sometimes they're drawn just to play into someone's fetish or something, like someone perversion, and not for really getting some alternative message or some alternative, not like other graphic novels type of style. That was a harder list for me to have compilations of. I read more unsatisfying or disappointing books, but that were the worst. Thank you so much for spending time with me and my candle. I'm glad we didn't start a fire this time, and I'm kissing you, and see you tomorrow in much less negative video. Bye. Have nice holidays.